sliding catch. Got him looking, strike three call.
He's sliding into third base with a 2-out triple. Ball game's over, and Rojas has delivered in the 11th. And the Smokies take the first half.
Smokies Nation, welcome back to another Pilot pregame show. We're going to get you set for Game 2 of Smokies versus Trash Pandas, AA affiliates of the Cubs and the Angels, and we're here in the brand new Collector's Corner. And Brian, as I'm getting texts already, because, hey, we're here at the brand new Collector's Corner. It's a great spot, great venue, as we'll kind of get to show off the entire place right here through this view. This is just outside, right on Jackson Avenue, right along Covenant Health Park. It's one of the best spots in town that you're going to find your cards, collectibles, even some Smokies gear as well, and they've got it all right here. We've got a Topps Chrome hobby box that will open here in a bit, but first, Brian, we got to talk about the series and today's action as well as yesterday's action because, man, yesterday we had some fun. Edward Cabrera made his Major League Rehab appearance here in Knoxville, and he dominated. 5 scoreless innings, 7 strikeouts. So I'm curious, Brian, what was the highlight for you of that performance?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a big league guy coming down, and for some minor league guys that haven't had that experience, Cabrera was dominant. He was able to pair his pitches really well, paint on the corners, get those strikeouts. He had a couple on the first, couple on the second. So for him to be able to rack those up early and get through that lineup the first time through last night was super crucial for him, and I think it's a good bounce back for him, confidence boost maybe, and we'll see him back at the big leagues hopefully here soon.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because the Cubs have a plethora of starting pitchers now. I mean, you're talking about the guys who are already in the big leagues, like, Shota Imanaga, Clay Holmes, Kevin Gausman, and there's so many more, Javier Assad, Colin Ray. We could keep going down the list. Seems like the Smokies, have seen what the best of Edward Cabrera can look like, but where does he fit in terms of a 3-game playoff series, Brian? I'm curious if you had to, put the manager hat on for a little bit, what are the 3 you would roll out in a 3-game set for the Cubs in October?
Well, obviously, those 2 new pickups with Gausman and Holmes are going to be at the top, 1, 2 there. But you've got some room there to work with in that 3 spot. So I think you've got Shota that you can put in. You can put in Edward Cabrera if you really want. But I'm going to go in this spot. I mean, Matthew Boyd is another name. He talked about that depth a couple of days ago. But I'm going to go with Shota here, 3, and then go maybe a bullpen starter role out of the bullpen there for Cabrera, and then you get Boyd, and they go 1 and 2 in that matchup in a Game 4 scenario. So I think I like that a lot, but the Cubs have their options right now. They've got 8 starting pitchers that they can go to and technically play 2 4-game series with that starting rotation, and that's crucial for them coming down the stretch.
Yeah, so you're going with Shota. I'm going to go right now with Matthew Boyd. If Edward Cabrera put up a performance like that yesterday in the big leagues, I think it'd be pretty hard to not say Edward Cabrera, 5 no-hit with 7 punch-outs. But right now, Matthew Boyd has kind of seemed like the veteran. Shota, Cubs fans know he struggled a little bit in last year's postseason. I'm sure he's due for a bounce back. He's been pitching very well over the last couple of months. But right now, I'm going to stick with Matthew Boyd. And then, like you said, kind of use a starter bullpen role for Cabrera, Ray, Assad, all these other starters that they have to deploy. And like you said, they're really set up for a long series right now if they can get into a 7-game set in the DS and CS. So we'll wait to see what happens down the stretch for the Cubbies. But down here in the Southern League with the Knoxville Smokies, after the loss last night in Game 1, it was a 6-1 final score in Game 1 against the Rocket City Trash Pandas. Here's where the standings sit right now. Rocket City looking good for that second playoff spot right now, Brian. They're 22-18. They're 4 games up on Birmingham, 8 games up on Chattanooga. You think this is a one-horse race going forward? I think
Rocket City's got their chance. They've got their sights set. They're playing really good baseball. They had a really good month of July. So, yeah, they can go forward and keep pushing. And I think it's anybody's game right now. Knoxville could really flip that switch here in the month of August if they continue to play better. So it's going to be exciting to see how we can do down the stretch. But I think it's going to be Rocket City and us. And so Rocket City, if they're the 2 spot, then they're going to be able to clinch that postseason berth. But Birmingham's got a shot. They're still 4 games back, but they can, once again, have another good month of August. I think it's going to be those 3 teams. Chattanooga is really struggling recently, so hard for them to get back.
Yeah, and Rocket City, the entire Angels farm system really bolstered by the trade deadline. Feels like for the first time that I've been alive, the Angels have finally sold some of their, prospects and players that they can get rid of that were on deals that are expiring and whatnot. So they've gotten a big boost. 2 of their top prospects that were actually on this Trash Pandas roster, Tyler Bremner and Arjun Nimala, acquired via trade. We're going to see both of those guys this week. Nimala dealing with some injuries, so probably towards the back half of the series. But Bremner also slated to start on Saturday. So really excited to see what these new Angels prospects bring out. And then when we look at the Southern League South, it is not looking good for Biloxi. They've lost the last 6 games, and they just lost Blake Burke to AAA. So it's really a 3-horse race between Pensacola, Columbus, and Montgomery as it stands right now. So, Brian, let's go ahead and dive into tonight's starting pitchers. We've got a good matchup. Lucas Knowles, the southpaw on the mound for the Trash Pandas, only made 1 start so far in Double-A, but has seen the Smokies once already this season out of the bullpen. And then for the Smokies, it's going to be Connor Schultz. So let's go ahead and start off with Knowles first. What can you tell me about this southpaw?
Yeah, the 20-year-old left-hander from Bremerton, Washington, a Pacific Northwest guy, but 14th round pick for the Nationals in 2019. But he has bounced around a little bit, has spent his entire time between high A or the A ball and double A, but a 3.08 batting average against there, 1-0 with a 5.31 ERA in 9 appearances. Just the 1 start. Like you said, he's worked mostly out of the bullpen so far this season. So if he can get back tonight, a 7.43 ERA in July and a 2.65 ERA on the road versus a 4.78 ERA at home. So a little bit better on the road, but that 3.08 batting average against guys that have been hitting him. Lefties do really well against him. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how he can do tonight. Bounce back start versus the Smokies, as it was a tough one for him last time out against him.
Yeah, and the Smokies' offense was not great last night. They left a lot of runners on base, and Knowles allows a 3.08 batting average against so far at the Double-A level. This is his first year in the Angels organization, so hopefully those Smokies bats can get hot. And setting the tone for Knoxville is going to be Connor Schultz. Brian, what do you have on the big right?
Yeah, 27-year-old from Allentown, Pennsylvania, a guy who grew up in actually Iowa, a little bit away from our AAA affiliate, but in 2026, a 3-4 record with a 4.66 ERA, 10 starts, 24 walks, and 55 strikeouts for him there. But 6 starts with 6 or more strikeouts. He's recorded 3 quality starts between June 30th and July 21st. So those 3 starts were all wins for the Smokies, but he uses his fastball well 40% of the time. He also gets the ground ball quite a bit as well, 34% of the time, but pretty even versus left-handed batters and right-handed batters. But he really locks in when the team is ahead. With run support, he has a 162 batting average against and just 11 hits allowed. So that's going to be really important if the Smokies can get runs early while he's still out there on the mound. It's going to be tough sledding for the Trash Pandas lineup tonight.
All right, well, we'll see how this pitching matchup squares off. Lucas Knowles versus Connor Schultz here in game number 2 of Smokies versus Trash Pandas 6-game set. Just the second to last homestand of the season for the Smokies. But remember, Smokies fans, you can pop out to the playoffs. We've got playoff tickets already available on SmokiesBaseball.com or call 865-286-2300. Thursday, September 17th, that's a guaranteed playoff game, game number 2 of the semifinal round in the Southern League playoffs. And all right, Brian, now it's time to get into some fun. We're here at the Collector's Corner where we've got this Topps Chrome box from 2026. Aaron Judge on the front, Brian. And with the time remaining that we have here in the first half of our pilot pregame show, I say we get to ribbon.
Let's do it.
Give you some packs. I'll take some packs. Let's see what we're able to pull here.
Oh, I love this, man. This is bringing back a lot of memories here.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I really got into cards was back in a summer baseball camp, and it was cool. They kind of incentivized you to play well and to collect well. So, you'd have different games throughout the week. And, if you did well, you'd get a pack of cards. And the, objective was at the end of the week, they'd give one person away this actual wooden bat. And, when you're a kid, you're just like, you're never using wooden bats. That's something the big leaguers use. So it's a pretty cool spectacle. And if you had the best 1 through 9, you'd have to put your cards, get a pitcher, catcher, first baseman, the whole 9. And then you were able to kind of compete. The camp counselors would judge who had the best 9-man lineup, and whoever won it won the bat. And I only ever won once, but I did find a love for trading cards right then, early on.
There you go. Yeah, I remember as a kid, I would always get for Christmas. I'd get the 700 card packs, and so I'd organize them by position and team and everything. And I would create those lineups sometimes, but then I'd put them in a sleeve organized by team. It was a lot of fun, and so I did that for. Every year. It was Christmas from 2012 to 2019. And then I started to get into MLB The Show, and you can pull cards on MLB The Show and kind of the same deal there. So I loved it, man. It was great.
Pete Crow Armstrong, baby.
There it is.
And a former Smoky, now in a Marlins uniform, Owen Casey out of this next pack. So we only got a handful of time left here on our pilot pregame show. Let's open one more pack, Brian. And then we'll close it out. So let's see
Sounds
what
good.
we got here. I got Marcelo Meyer just traded. Ooh, look at this snazzy-looking Paul Skeens.
Oh, nice.
Show
I
that
like
on the
it.
camera. Sweet, sweet.
I got
sweet.
this
We'll
Future
throw that
Stars
back on.
Jack Caglione one. That's actually a pretty cool tie-dye card
He's
there.
been putting the hurt on the Dodgers
Oh,
this
yeah.
week. So, Smokies fans, if you want to open your own boxes or anything here at the Collector's Corner, make sure to check out the Collector's Corner right here on Jackson Ave before or after Smokies games. We've got their hours listed in the YouTube description. And for those watching on YouTube or listening on the Smokies Baseball Network, we'll be right back with segment number 2 of our pilot pregame show. But for those hanging out at Covenant Health Park for All You Can Eat Wednesday, game number 2 between the Smokies and the Trash Pandas is coming up next.
For our players to pick those guys' brains and just to go and see our players to see how they work and what it takes to kind of get to the big leagues, because these guys are so close to the big leagues in Knoxville, they don't even know it. Like Brett Bateman's with the Blue Jays, Pedro Ramirez is playing in Chicago. Like we have multiple examples of guys that played every day last year that are in the big leagues. So just reminding these guys, you guys are so close to the big leagues. Keep working. Work never stops. But it's definitely had fun to have Cabrera, Palencia, and Shelby Miller here just to see how it's done.
All right. And just like that, we're back for our second segment. We thank you for joining us here on the Pilot pregame show. We just opened a bunch of cards. We were checking them out because we're here at the Collector's Corner. One of the best card shops in all of Knoxville to hang out, get your collectibles, get your cards, get your rips. Last night at the Smokies game number 1 between the Trash Pandas and the Smokies, we had trade night. So down the right field line, there were a bunch of people set up selling cards, and there were also some raffles going on. I'm not sure who won, but there were some pretty sweet auctionables there in that auction, including a signed Pete Crow Armstrong baseball. So Smokies fans, make sure to stay tuned on Smokies Baseball at social media or smokiesbaseball.com for more info on promotions like that. But Brian, I think it's time to get back into game number 2.
Let's do it.
So we've got some lineups in front of us, and we're going to go ahead and read them off. Let me pop up this graphic here and start it off. Why don't you give me the Smokies home 9?
Let's look at them. Lance Reimel, pretty similar look as we've seen since the trade deadline with those new acquisitions. But Kane Kepley will be in the leadoff spot in center field. Alex Ramirez, top in the Southern League in terms of base knocks, will be in the 2-hole at the DH spot tonight, so he will get a break in center field. Miguel Useche has been hitting the cover off the baseball. He'll be at first base. Andy Garriola will be in the 4-hole. Carter Trice will follow batting 5th. Dom Kapritsky, another guy who has been hitting the ball very well, especially there in Chattanooga in his first series, will be at third base. And then 7, 8, 9 will be Ariel Armas, Drew Bowser, and Carson Seamus, who's 1 stolen base away from 40 on the year.
Yeah, so Brian, the pick to click for me is Carson Seamus. He's been really turning it on so far in August in 9 games, batting .333. And yeah, I want to see him become the first Smoky since, 2010, Tony Campana to reach that 40 stolen base mark. So he's my pick to click tonight. And I also love him being in the 9-hole sandwiched, in the lineup. Him and Kane Kepley, a lot of speed at the top and the bottom of this order. I love how Lance Reimel's been aligning it and then just trying to find the right mixture in the middle in order for this team to win ball games and bat better with runners in scoring position. But for you, who are you pointing out in the Smokies lineup?
Well, I've been hearing this name for a long time. Dom Kapinski, I got to watch him a little bit when he was still in college last year in the Appalachian League, but he tore the cover off the baseball there in OPS over 1,000. And so I really like him. I liked what I saw in his series again in Chattanooga, popping a couple homers there. And he provides a little bit more of that pop and the good defense at third base in the 6-hole. So I'm going to have Dom Kapinski lined up and circled in my lineup card tonight. It's going to be fun to watch.
And then if we turn it over to the Trash Pandas, Joe Kruzel's got his squad aligned like this. Nick Rodriguez, the second baseman, lefty batter, going to be leading it off. Eddie Micheletti, one of the newest additions to this team, going to be out in right field. Jake Monroe, a top 30 Angels prospect, is in the 3-hole and playing the hot corner. Tucker Flint, who's played more games in a Trash Pandas uniform than anybody in history, will be cleaning it up in left field. Caleb Bartolero at first base bats 5th. Jacob Cozart and Juan Flores back-to-back. They're the 2 catchers on this roster. Cozart will be DHing. Flores will be behind the dish. Flipped from last night, and both of these guys also top 20 Angels prospects. Anthony Skull will be batting 8th in center field, and then Mac McCroskey will round it out. Smokies fans remember his name in the 9 spot. So that's how it's looking tonight for game number 2 between the Smokies and the Trash Pandas. Remember, we're at Collector's Corner. We've got some promos here on the screen, so make sure to check them out right on the corner of Jackson Ave near that home plate gate. So now that we've gone through the lineups, the starting pitchers, little recap of the series, It's also something Smokies fans need to know is it's Miller time.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And that means that 13-year MLB veteran Shelby Miller was activated by Knoxville this morning. He's going to be making a major league rehab stint right here with the Smokies. And this guy has played for the Cardinals, the Braves, the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, the Cubs already in 2021, Pittsburgh, the Giants, the Dodgers, Detroit, and Milwaukee. A handful of teams right here, Brian. Are you excited to see what he's going to be able to bring out of the bullpen for Knoxville?
Yeah, I love this guy. I remember watching him as a kid. As a Cardinals fan, I remember when the Cardinals were drafting him, and he was a part of two really big trades. One that sent Jason Hayward to St. Louis. He went to Atlanta in that deal. And Dansby Swanson, current Cub, when he went to Atlanta, Shelby Miller was the trade there that went to Arizona. And he shined in Arizona, was very good in Arizona, and then it's kind of bounced around since then. But longtime big leaguer, good to have him in the clubhouse, and I'm sure these guys are just picking his brain about everything.
Yeah, I mean, he's the oldest guy on the roster, 35 years old right now, and transitioned into the bullpen in 2017 after being drafted in the first round all the way back in 2009. Like I said, made his first stint with Chicago in 2021, only for a few games before getting injured, but now here he's coming off of a big surgery again, but we've already seen him throw a couple of times in Iowa, looked really good. We're excited to see what his mid-90s fastball and good breaking stuff can bring to the table, especially for the Cubs down the stretch who could use all the bullpen help they can get. And for Miller, a 404 earned run average and over 900 innings thrown so far in the big leagues. And, speaking of big leagues, Smokies have two representatives of this new era of Knoxville baseball since we returned to Knoxville last year that are currently in the big leagues, including Pedro Ramirez, who was called up to the Cubs back on May 22nd, made his debut on the 23rd, and he spent the entire last season with Knoxville, and he won a Rawlings Gold Glove for third base. He was one of the most solid at-bats you could have, switch hitter, and he's been playing great. So let's go ahead and look at his most recent home run hit up at the big league level.
Stuck in AAA all year. Ramirez deep to right field. Marte back at the wall, and it is gone. Second big league homer for Pedro Ramirez. Second hit of the night, solo shot, and the Cubs are up by 4. It's a 6-2 game. And line drive home run, 363 off the bat.
Yeah, so that was the second big league home run for Pedro Ramirez. And, 2 is a funny number. They said he had 2 hits right there, 2 big league home runs. He wore the number 2 last year for the Knoxville Smokies. And it's funny because he's wearing number 75 up at the big league level, Brian. And it takes me back to that original interview that Craig Counsell had with the media once he was called up. He's like, yeah, there's not going to be a lot of at-bats for him. Not sure how long he's going to be here. But Pedro Ramirez has absolutely hit his way into the lineup. Still not playing every day because, of course, Cubs have a lot of veteran big leaguers. But they've been able to play really solid baseball so far, and Pedro Ramirez has been a big part of it. Big spot off the bench. Is there anything you want to contribute to the Pedro Ramirez story right now?
Yeah, the 295, 458, 788 slash line. So he's doing really well up there in the big leagues. 8 doubles, those 2 homers now, 15 RBIs. But he adds the infield depth. I think that's a big part for the Cubs right now, and being able to have the guys that they can put up the middle with Swanson and Nico now and Pedro, and a little bit of depth at third base with Bregman getting some time off. So he's really being utilized as a utility guy, and he's kind of the perfect guy for the Cubs to go to there. So I'm really happy to see him thriving up at the big league level.
Yeah, and then another Smoky who's in the big leagues, not with Chicago. We're talking about Brett Bateman, who was actually sent over to Toronto in that Kevin Gausman deal, as well as Ty Southazine, a couple of Cubs prospects. And Brett Bateman, well, he got to AAA Durham, was there for 2 games, and then called right up to the big leagues and has already made a great impression with the Blue Jays. And for Brett Bateman, he was a star center fielder for us last year. Played just about every game in center field when he was healthy. Even had one play where he ran straight into the wall, sacrificed the body, was out for a little bit, but still made the catch. Just some phenomenal memories from Brett Bateman here in Knoxville. And, he's looked good as a Blue Jay so far. Anything you got on him, Brian? Yeah, 6 hits in 5 games, 3 RBI, and a pair of doubles. He's also, last night, a single double and 2 of those 3 RBIs last night in the win over the Red Sox. So he's been contributing. He's been hitting the cover off the baseball, very solid contacts. He's been using the big part of the yard, too, driving the ball up the middle. So I think he's going back to his basics, and I must say, I'm sad to see him go. I would have loved to see him make his debut in a Cubs uniform, but I'm really excited and happy that he's getting that time finally, and he's going to thrive in that Blue Jays outfield. All right. right, and we actually have his first career hit as well as an interview with him from a post game when his first game in Toronto. So let's go ahead and hear from the man himself, Brett Bateman.
Swing and a fly ball out to left center field. Going back, Brandon Marsh leaps. It's off the wall. Around first into second, Bateman. He'll stop there, and he was in a hurry. It's a leadoff double on the first big league pitch he's ever seen, and they're going to need that baseball. Brett Bateman has a major league double.
Why do you think you've had success so quickly in your major league career?
I've been embraced. That's it. By the fans, by the team. They made it really easy for me just to like be myself and try and fit in, like this guy right here. So yeah, I mean, I've had no issue fitting in, and
Well, for those tuning in on radio, that last crowd pop right there was because Vladdy and another Blue Jays teammate poured the Gatorade bucket all over Brett Bateman, who was having that post-game interview. So just really excited to hear how he's been embraced, like he said, by the Toronto fan base and as well the club, because he was a great baseball player, great person as well to have in the clubhouse. So excited to see him having early success at the big league level, and only hope it stays that way for him unless he's playing the Cubbies. So yeah, those are our guys in the big leagues right now. And I also had a couple fun quotes I wanted to bring up from manager John Schneider, who was talking about Brett Bateman. So like we said, he only spent 2 days at the AAA level in Toronto, then got called up. Bateman thought that he was getting called into the manager's office because he had, didn't have a great at-bat with runners in scoring position and figured it was going to be about that. Instead, he's like, well, you don't have to worry about that, son, because you're going up to the big leagues. And, he got to the big league club, talked to John Schneider, the manager, and this is a quote from Schneider. I said, what's your first question to me? And Bateman said, am I playing tonight? Schneider said, do you want to play tonight? And then he said, well, he couldn't repeat Bateman's exact answer, but it was very, very encouraging, and he liked the initial conversation. So, to break that down, reading between the lines, I think there may have been some curse words in there, maybe a little bit of a PG-13 conversation that Schneider did not want to indulge with the media there, but I think Brett Bateman was able to fire his manager up and gain that confidence, and now he's up at the top of the lineup already for Toronto. Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited about him. I think the fact that he's excited to be there and play baseball and be in that spot, I think anybody, of course, would want to be at the big league level, but Brett Bateman just loves the game of baseball. He's been around it for so long, and so for him to be able to have that enthusiasm and bring some youth back into that lineup that for Toronto that this year hasn't been what they were last year, of course. So I think it's been really exciting to see him go about his business and to have that spark quite literally at the top of the lineup for Toronto is going to be huge for them down the stretch. All right, and Smokies fans, as we wrap up our pilot pregame show with Brian Keiss and myself, Connor Nelson, first, before we let you go, I want to talk about some of the promotions that we've got coming up. So coming up just this Saturday, UT night, August 15th, first 1,000 fans in the stadium will get one of these Deshaun Bishop bobbleheads. The YouTube viewers can see if you're listening on Smokies Baseball Network. He's doing that celebration where he's on his knees. He's got his hands towards the sky, and he's celebrating touchdowns as Deshaun Bishop, looking to have another good season for the Vols, running out of the backfield this year. Then we've also got Crayola Day on August 16th. That's this Sunday. So there's a color your own lunchbox. First 1,000 kids in the stadium will be able to get one of those. And then talking about our final homestand, Ice Bears night, September 4th. That's a Friday. Make sure to pop out. We're going to have both of the mascots, Smokies and Ice Bears, in the same stadium. And then also fans, make sure you pop out September 5th. That's a Saturday for Fan Appreciation Night. We would not be able to do this without you all. We thank you for packing out Covenant Health Park every week that we're here, and the Smokies fans appreciate you as well. So, Brian, as we close out our pilot pregame show, is there any one of those promotions that's really catching your eye? Well, I've heard a lot about the Ice Bears night. Of course, Cooper Smith, the guy who was in our booth for a while, he was with the Ice Bears and doing some of their broadcasting. So I've heard a lot about the Ice Bears, and I'm excited to see how that night plays out. I love hockey, and it's a fun sport to watch, and so I think that should be a fun one. All right. Well, Smokies fans, check out SmokiesBaseball.com for more info and tickets to get here at Covenant Health Park for just a handful of home games left. This series, one more at the start of September, and then playoff baseball is coming to Covenant Health Park September 17th. So that'll wrap up our Pilot pregame show. Got to remind you that Pilot's out here to fuel your game day drive with gas, snacks, and more. Pilot, see you out here. But for Brian Keiss and myself, Connor Nelson, that'll do it for us here at the Collector's Corner, which you can check out at 500 East Jackson Ave, right off the corner of that home plate gate. So we're here before game number 2 of Smokies versus Trash Pandas, AA affiliates of the Cubs and the Angels. Game 2 action coming up right here on the Smokies Baseball Network with Mick Gillespie and Richie Juliana right after this.